Galactic language barriers. Communicating the cosmos in universal terms, the universal invitation somewhere. In the vast darkness between galaxies, there may be an intelligence ancient, curious, and completely unaware that we exist. No shared language, no shared history, no shared biology. And yet, for over half a century, humanity has been quietly asking a single question into the void. Is anyone out there? Why do we send messages at all? On a practical level, it seems almost absurd. Space is unimaginably large. Even our fastest signals, radio waves moving at the speed of light, take years, centuries, or millennia to cross interstellar distances. Any reply, if it comes, would arrive long after the senders are gone, and yet we send them anyway, because this urge isn't practical, it's existential. From cave paintings to radio telescopes, humans have always tried to leave evidence that we were here, that we understood something, that we mattered, even briefly, in a universe that doesn't care. In 1977, this impulse was etched into gold. The Voyager Golden Recorder phonograph disc bolted to 2 spacecraft, leaving the solar system carried sounds of Earth, images of human life, greetings in 55 languages, and music from Bach to Chuck Berry. It was never expected to be found. It was a gesture, a cosmic message in a bottle. 3 years earlier, we had sent something even more daring, the irresistible message of binary radio transmission aimed at a star cluster 25,000 light-years away, compressed humanity into mathematics, chemistry, DNA structure, and a stick figure human. It was a technical marvel, clean, logical, confident. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Both messages assumed a lot. They assumed that aliens perceive reality in a way vaguely similar to us, that they understand spatial diagrams, that they recognize hydrogen, that they decode symbols the way we do. What if they don't? If we are going to introduce ourselves to the cosmos, the challenge is not just distance. It's translation across entirely different ways of being, beyond human, stripping away terrestrial. Because every language we've ever invented is shaped by human biology. We speak in sound because we evolved ears. We write in symbols because we evolved eyes. We describe the world using metaphors rooted in gravity, time, and scale because Earth trained us that way. But an alien intelligence might not see at all. It might perceive electromagnetic fields, or neutrino flows, or time not as a line, but as a landscape. This is the core problem of anthropocentrism, the assumption that the universe makes sense the way we experience it. Even something as basic as time may not be universal. We experience time as a forward-moving arrow because entropy increases around us. But what if another intelligence evolved in an environment where change is cyclical, reversible, or irrelevant? What about logic? We often assume that logical reasoning, cause and effect, true and false, is universal. But logic itself may depend on how an intelligence evolved to survive. Our logic grew from predators, prey, scarcity, and competition. An alien mind might not divide reality into binaries at all. This creates what scientists call the Rosetta Stone problem. The original Rosetta Stone worked because humans already shared something, the ability to recognize patterns, symbols, and repeated structures across languages. With aliens, we share nothing by default. No common sensory experience, no shared environment, no cultural overlap. So what, if anything, can survive that gap? Mathematics, the cosmic translator. If there is one language humans trust beyond all others, it is mathematics. Mathematics doesn't belong to any culture. It doesn't require sound or sight. It describes relationships that seem to exist whether we observe them or not. Prime numbers don't care who discovers them. Pi doesn't change depending on who measures a circle. The hydrogen atom behaves the same way in every galaxy we've observed. This is why nearly every attempt at interstellar messaging begins with numbers. The Arecibo message started with a simple sequence: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not to teach counting, but to demonstrate intentional structure. Random noise doesn't count upward. From there, it introduced prime numbers, atomic numbers, and chemical formulas. The idea was simple: if an intelligence can manipulate matter and energy, it likely understands quantities and ratios. But math alone is not enough. Math describes relationships, not meaning. You can encode the structure of DNA mathematically, but that doesn't explain what life feels like. You can describe the hydrogen atom, but that doesn't explain curiosity, fear, or wonder. Physics helps bridge the gap by referencing fundamental constants: the speed of light, the charge of an electron, the structure of atoms. We anchor our message to the same universe the recipient inhabits. At least we assume they do, but even physics hides assumptions. We assume the recipient understands space as 3 dimensions. We assume they distinguish matter from energy. We assume their technology interprets signals the way ours does. A message can be mathematically perfect and still be utterly meaningless to its recipient. Visualizing. The invisible humans love pictures, diagrams, feel universal to us because we process visual patterns instinctively. That's why early interstellar messages relied heavily on images: binary grids forming shapes, stick figures, spirals representing DNA. But images are not inherently universal. An image assumes vision, perspective, foreground and background, symbolic representation. What if an alien doesn't interpret 2-dimensional projections as representations of 3-dimensional objects? What if depth, shading, and orientation mean nothing? Even something as simple as an arrow used to indicate direction might not translate. Direction only makes sense if space is navigated the way we navigate it. To counter this, scientists try to encode relationships instead of representations. Not "this is what a human looks like," but "here is a system of proportions. Here is a repeating pattern. Here is a transformation that follows consistent rules." The goal is not to show ourselves, but to demonstrate that we think in structured, intentional ways. In other words, before saying who we are, we must prove that we are thinking beings at all. The challenge of understanding, decoding alien intelligence comes the most unsettling possibility. What if an alien intelligence receives our message and simply cannot perceive it? Not because it's too advanced, not because it's hostile, but because its sensory reality doesn't overlap with ours in any meaningful way. Our radio signals might be background noise to a species that communicates through gravity waves. Our carefully encoded mathematics might be indistinguishable from natural cosmic processes. Even if they detect the signal, interpretation is another hurdle. Every message requires a frame of reference. How big is this thing? How long does it last? Where does it come from? On Earth, we define units using arbitrary standards: meters, seconds, kilograms. In space, those standards mean nothing unless tied to universal constants. That's why interstellar messages often define scale using hydrogen, the most common element in the universe, and the frequency of its radiation. But even then, misunderstanding is possible. A symbol we intend as greeting could be interpreted as warning. A representation of our solar system could be mistaken for a map to resources or targets. This isn't paranoia. It's semiotics. Meaning does not exist in symbols. Meaning exists in interpretation, and interpretation depends entirely on context. Which brings us to the most dangerous question of all: crafting humanity's cosmic self-portrait. Of we can communicate if we manage to bridge mathematics, physics, and perception. What should we actually say? Do we introduce ourselves scientifically? Our planet orbits a yellow star. We are carbon-based. Our DNA is structured like this. That's safe, neutral, informational. But is that us? Humans are more than chemistry. We create art that serves no survival purpose. We tell stories about things that never happened. We ask questions we know we may never answer. Do we include music, laughter, poetry? The Voyager Golden Record did, and in doing so, it made a bold statement. Intelligence is not just calculation, it is creativity. But there's an ethical shadow hanging over all of this. Some scientists argue that announcing our presence is dangerous. This is the essence of the dark forest theory, the idea that the universe is like a dark forest filled with hunters. Every civilization stays silent because revealing your location invites destruction. In that view, broadcasting our existence is reckless, childish, naive. Others argue the opposite. That silence is already a message. That curiosity is worth the risk. That a universe without communication is lonelier and poorer than one where minds dare to reach out. Right now, humanity stands at a crossroads. For decades, we mostly listened. SETI scanned the skies, hoping to catch a whisper. But technology is changing. Our signals are stronger. Our reach is wider. Our ability to deliberately broadcast active SETI is growing. The question is no longer can we speak to the cosmos, are we ready to be heard? The timeless message we send today of our planet as magnetic field in action, by that, protecting us from our languages may be dead. However, our nation's magnetic field isn't static. Species changed or it's extinct. Ever-changing system cannot belong to a moment. The magnetic poles are not fixed. It must say they wander. Simply, the magnetic North Pole is currently in this part of the Canadian Arctic towards Siberia about itself. Surprisingly fast. That may be the most universal statement of all. Not requiring us to constantly update navigation systems. From the compass, we wondered, and in wondering, we reached beyond our planet, beyond our biology, beyond our fear trying to say hello to minds we may never meet. Whether the universe answers back or not, that act alone defines us. Because long before aliens hear our mesa,